All right, guys, I'm here to talk to you guys about a topic in statistics called the box and whisker plot or a box and whisker graph. What I have done is I took a screenshot of Infinite Campus where I have obviously your guys' grades, and I took one student's, cut out their name obviously, but this is one student's progress. These are graphs that show up for every teacher in Infinite Campus. And what these are is a bunch of box and whisker plots. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 8 box and whisker plots here. And if you didn't know what a box and whisker plot, this would look kind of meaningless, but I just want to show you guys kind of what they look like and that they are, I guess, essentially used. So what a box and whisker plot does, I'm going to talk about this one here. A box and whisker plot has this box here, and then whiskers that go off in either direction. It uses 5 numbers, which we call a 5-number summary. There's one of the numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What Infinite Campus does is that then it plots the individual score for that person in the box and whisker plot, and this kind of lets me know how they're doing in comparison to the rest of the class. So this particular student on this quiz got the maximum score, which was 18 out of 18. Minimum is going to be down at the bottom, and the median is the middle score, right? We've talked about median in 11.1 and 11.2. So all this information is in a box and whisker plot, and basically I'm just kind of showing you, hey, these are used. They're kind of interesting to look at, and now I want to talk to you guys about how to build one. Like I alluded to, we have to know the 5-number summary, and the 5-number summary is going to be the minimum. Q1, Q is quartile 1, and then we have the median, and we have quartile 3 and the max. You're generally going to see these labeled as Q1 and Q3, but just for the introduction, we'll refer to them as quartile 1, median, quartile 3, and max. If I were to give you guys any data, I just made up random test scores and said, hey, if this was the student's test scores for the entire year, let's make a box and whisker plot of their test scores for the entire year. Well, we should be able to identify the min and the max really easily. And we've also talked about median. Median is the middle one when arranged in numerical order. I've already labeled them in numerical order. Look at me go. So the minimum here is 51. Let's go ahead and do this. The minimum here is 51, and the maximum is 100. The median would be the middle score, so we'd go cross off the low and the high, and we would end up with a median of 88. Q1 and Q3, so we're going to disregard the median now. What Q1 is, or quartile 1, is it is the median of the lower half of data. So we'd cross off the middle one, and then we'd look at these last, what ends up being 4 here, and we'd find the median of the last 4. Well, we'd have to find the middle ones, and those two would cancel out, and we would have to find the median of, now the middle of these two numbers. So we'd have to find the mean. So if you have an even number and you go to cancel them and they don't just leave with 1 in the middle, what you do is you take the average of them, so you'd add them up and divide by 2. We're going to end up with 75 here. And we'll do the same thing for the top half for Q3. So you would cross off the top one and the top one. You'd end up finding the average of those two, the middle of those two, and that would be 92. So we've now calculated our 5-number summary. I do want to point out that this information can all be obtained using the same method that we got our standard deviation from and all of that stuff. If you go into your calculators and you push stat, and then edit, and you enter all the values in, and then you push stat, and then calc, and then 1 var stats, all of this information is going to be there: min, Q1, med, Q3, and max. So now we have to go ahead and create the box and whisker plot. What I want you to do is make a number line. I'm going to make mine horizontal, where the one that I showed you from Infinite Campus was vertical. But basically, what you want to do is you want to just say, okay, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. I'm just going to get rid of this part. So here's a number line. 51 is the min, that gets a dot. 100 is the max, that gets a dot. 75 would be right here. 88 would be here on the number line, and 92 would be here. We're going to box these three together, and then these part get the whiskers. So if this was a student's particular test scores, 25% of the data is going to be between 92 and 100. Oftentimes, I'll actually do this when I'm doing my box and whisker plots. 51, 100, 75, 88, and 92. So 25% of this student's tests were between 92 and 100. 25% of the data of this student's tests were between 88 and 92. 25% of this student's tests were between 75 and 88, and 25% were between 51 and 75. Some last observations or information that I want to give to you guys is 25% of the data lie between each of these numbers in the 5-number summary. That's kind of what I just explained. Also, there's this thing called the IQR, or the interquartile range. The interquartile range is essentially the range between Q1 and Q3. So here we have Q1 and Q3. And you're just going to find the range or the difference between those things to get the IQR. So the IQR in this problem is 17. And the way that you would get that is just by doing 92 minus 75. That's all I have for box and whisker plots. Hopefully this makes sense. If it didn't, make sure you check into my office hours between 9 and 11 sometime this week.